Hi guys, and welcome to the second devlog for Project Rhythmia. In today's devlog, we're mainly going to go over a lot of our combat related systems and how our skill trees and offhands are currently working. In today's one, we're going to only cover 3 of the weapons what we have available, and these are our one-hand swords, our crossbows, and our fire staffs. And then we'll also go over a couple of our offhand abilities where we have, for instance, our holy tomes, what are healing related offhands. Well, then we have magic tomes, what is more DPS related, and then we have our shields and our daggers, what are tank related and more DPS. So whenever you're joining, the first thing you'll notice is when you go into our cast mode, and this is done by pressing F or whatever button you have keybind for your item switch into your offhand. And by pressing this button, we'll enter our cast mode. And as you can see in the bottom of my hotbar, it's now just changed, and we have three abilities available. And these current abilities on the one-hand sword is slash, charge, and multi-attack. And the ways to see what these abilities are is by simply going into our inventory and hovering over them, or we can go into our menu, into our weapon skill trees, and then in here we can also see all of our current weapons, where these are obviously one-hand sword, bow, ice staff, two-hand sword, crossbow, fire staff, battle axe. And then we also have 2 extra tabs for our offhands and our armors, as these also have unique abilities what are on them, but these will randomly roll when they've been dropped, or if you craft one of these weapons. So since we actually have the one-hand sword in, we'll quickly go into this skill tree. And as we can see, we're now greeted into this page where we know these are the 3 abilities available for this sword. And we can actually upgrade the skill to make it do more damage, or if it's a buff related one, it may potentially make the buff last longer, or it makes the abilities more powerful. And it's as simple as just pressing the plus, so we can see to upgrade charge to level 2, it's going to cost us 5 ability points. And currently we have 52, so we can quite easily upgrade this into the next level, and then we can see, for instance, the next level is going to cost us 10. Skill points are actually going to be acquired by, ability points are going to be acquired by either leveling up, you'll be granted with one extra point, you'll get some occasionally through questing, but the primary way to get them is by crafting an item called a combat scroll. And these combat scrolls are crafted by getting some essences and then also our combat scroll fragments, crafting them together, and then you can learn more skill ability points to upgrade any weapon you wish to progress. One of the cool features about these combat scrolls is also they are tradable. So in the future you'll be able to quickly trade them to friends, or you can sell them on the auction house, and hopefully they'll turn into some form of commodity where people will sort out for these combat scrolls, as you're going to need quite a few of them to max out every single skill tree. So you have a choice of either spending all your time on one weapon archetype you really enjoy, or you can be versatile and quickly spend points on a little bit of everything. And it's a bit of a progression path as well to be able to fully deck out your every single weapon. So from going through the combat, so go back into our combat skills, combat mode, we can simply press any button through 1 through 3 to cast these abilities. So if we just quickly go down here to where these wolves are, we can simply with the one-hand sword charge into the combat. And then we have multi-attack, what does a rapid, quick amount of damage. And then just slash, what does a big upfront damage. And we can quickly dispatch these wolves. Let's quickly run back up here so we don't aggro anymore when they respawn. And then, so that's how simple it is to do the combat within Rhythmia. It's very fluid. It's not any janky systems where you feel overwhelmed by what buttons to be able to press. It's very much like a generic MMO where you can just press 1 through 3, and as you can see, whenever you cast an ability, you can very easily see in the bottom when it's on cooldown. Also, if you spam the ability, it will notify you that it's on cooldown in chat, so if you think something's not right, it also notifies you. And then same again, we can switch into a different weapon type. So in Rhythmia we have no classes. Classes do not exist. It's all based off the weapon archetypes, so it gets rid of the annoying pain of going through, well, a lot of Minecraft servers, because it's a little hard to change them, by going in and looting a weapon what you just cannot even use. So you'll end up normally throwing it away, but because every single weapon is accessible for you, you can choose whatever you want to be. You can find whatever archetype you like. So for instance, I can go into this crossbow, and we can see we've got three new abilities because it's a complete different archetype, and these are Deep Wounds, Sharpen Shot, and Snare. And then it's as simple as again, just casting 1 through 3 to cast these abilities. One of the cool other things what we have done in our combat systems is if I, for instance, cast when it comes back off cooldown, if I recast Snare, I can quite easily change this weapon into the one-hand sword. So I can actually use 2 different weapons. So if I have a mob coming towards me, I can cast some ranged abilities and then quickly switch to the one-hand sword to be able to do melee. And a lot of one of your first thoughts going, this might be a bit overpowered because you may then have access to over 60 abilities or something. So if I actually cast Snare right now, so it's on a 15-second cooldown, and if I quickly switch back to my one-hand sword, we'll notice the ability 3 is still on cooldown because we cast Snare. So this is where you can be able to do weapon switching and have it quite balanced. So you might be able to decide, for instance, you want to charge into a mob, and then you could switch into a 2-hand sword or something what does high damage, but you have to sacrifice not having an offhand. And we're really excited to see what builds people decide to make and what weapons to use. You could even be crazy and use three weapons. So you can use 1 ability from the 1-hand sword, 1 ability from the crossbow, and then 1 ability from the fire staff. One of the other cool things we have, so we have these 3 abilities for the main archetype of the weapon. And you may have noticed we actually have a spare slot here. And by simply equipping one of our offhands, so for instance, I'm going to equip this dagger, what we can see has the ability kidney shot on it, what is at level 1. By equipping it and then going back into our cast mode, we can see now we have a 4th ability, what we've now achieved from having this offhand equipped. And whenever you craft or get a random drop of an offhand, it has 4 random abilities it can craft from. It can have equipped with. And this can also be seen by going back into our menu, back into our skill trees, but this time pressing offhands. So we can actually see that the dagger has the abilities having throw, kidney shot, what we currently have active, and shadow step. And these are randomly rolled. And then same again, we can quickly interchange these into, for instance, a shield, where we have the ability taunt now, where we can taunt any nearby mobs. So this is obviously more of a tank related with party play. It's not really got much use for single player, but for multiplayer, it's got the aspect of being able to do stuff like that. One of the other cool things we have for abilities is whenever you craft your armor set, the chest plate has a chance of rolling another ability on it. So we can see we have an ability here called Shield Lock, and this is going to give us a damage decrease onto us whenever we get dealt damage. So if we actually run down here, and if you keep your eye at the top right hand corner, you'll see we'll get an ability what will be active from a passive when this wolf hit us. So we can see now we have that ability active, and for that duration of time we're actually going to take less damage. And then once it's gone, the passive will now go on to cooldown. Then after a certain set amount of time, it will come active again. And the same again when crafting chest plates. There's multiple different abilities they can have. So we have one here, Second Life, where when you take lethal damage, it will give you a large heal, so you don't actually die. And same again, we can see how this is done by going into the skill trees, and we can see exactly how they happen. And then in the orange text, it actually tells us how it's going to trigger, because each one's different. So for instance, this is on lethal damage. We have one whenever we take a crit, or whenever we take overall damage. In the future, these abilities will actually say an increment amount of an increment of whatever it does. It will be shown at the minute, because there is 4 possible levels. This ability can be. We've just at the moment shown it in basic text, not overwhelm the screen. In the future, it will eventually show you what exactly damage by damage it is, so you can calculate it a little bit better if you want to min-max. But that is the basic fundamentals of our combat, really, where we have different abilities, different skills, and you can interchange them to whatever you need. And like we said before, we're really looking forward to seeing what you guys can mess about and what you figure out is the best builds, what is the best weapons with the best offhands. And if you if we see any people flicking between weapons. It's going to be really fun figuring out what is the best. We've got some ideas what we think will happen through testing, but we would like to see like the general public actually seeing what they can do with it. And we also really like some feedback. This is obviously a very unique style of combat, what we've done. And we just want to see what you all guys think of it. But anyway, thank you very much for staying out this long, and we can't wait to see you guys in game.